Political parties are all about the accumulation of power and the ability to use it to position the opposing party as corrupt, greedy, out of touch, and any number of other insulting descriptions. But there are also times when you would just as soon have the other party in power because you can blame them for anything bad that might happen, things for which you would rather not have your own party held accountable. So with the Republican Party looking more and more likely to take control of both houses of Congress in the upcoming elections, perhaps the GOP should be careful what they wish for. One need only go back as far as 2008 to understand what I mean. The Democrats won the presidency and control of both houses of Congress. But come 2010, the economy was still weak and unpopular legislation, particularly the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, had been passed, and the Democrats were slaughtered, losing over 60 seats and control in the House and 7 seats in the Senate. The reason was quite simple. The voters blamed the ruling Democrats for all the country's ills. But the Democrats then succeeded in blaming the new Republican House for all manner of things in 2012, and Barack Obama was reelected. Likewise, if the Republicans take control of the whole Congress this year, even with a Democratic president, it'll be far easier for the Democratic candidate for president in 2016, whether that be Hillary Clinton or someone else, to blame Republicans for most everything. And this will make it a lot easier for her than having her party held fully accountable for the state of affairs. But, you say, with control of the House and Senate, the Republicans can get things done they haven't been able to do as the minority, and they'll take over the chairmanship of Senate committees, thus gaining the power to dictate the agenda. That may be true enough in theory, but in practice, none of that is likely to matter. The partisan warfare in Washington right now is so fierce that the GOP will undoubtedly be thwarted at every turn, especially with the now omnipresent threat of filibuster, meaning that 60 votes, rather than the 51 required in the Constitution and envisioned by the founders, will be necessary for anything of consequence to pass in the Senate. And with a Democrat in the White House, most any bill that does actually pass both houses will be vetoed by a lame duck Democratic president working with a Republican Congress. And this bitter partisanship is reflected not just in action, but in rhetoric. Have you ever heard a Democrat say a single good thing about George W. Bush? Have you heard any Republicans give Obama even begrudging credit for almost anything? Is this the kind of political environment envisioned by those who essentially invented this form of government? Well, yes and no. The founders did endeavor to make it very difficult to pass major legislation. They wanted to assure broad consensus for big changes in the law. But they also wanted a system that would ultimately encourage bipartisanship. And that's why they were, to a man, extremely wary of political parties. They knew that such parties would almost certainly conduct constant partisan warfare, with the parties more concerned about thwarting each other than considering the best interests of the nation. So if the Republicans do take control of the Senate in November, the roles may be reversed from where they are now, but expect exactly the same toxic partisan atmosphere we've all been witnessing for lo these many years, with all of us left to suffer the consequences.